So since the last time I actually sat down and did a review for My Hero Academia, which has been the past few weeks, there's a lot that's kind of happened. We've had 2 color pages, massive character development with Kirishima, Mina, even some lesser characters of UA, and we also on top of that have some amazing moments with just the League of Villains and seeing a little bit more about Gigan's overall power, kind of what quirks he has. So it's been phenomenal. These past few chapters have really stood out, and honestly, it's kind of been a little bit sad that I haven't talked about them. And so, at long last, it's better late than never. Here I am to talk about the recent events of kind of UA, our students, against Gigan and the League of Villains. So I guess let's start off with one of the big details that needs to be discussed, and that is Gigan and actually him going up against our students of UA. Gigan is not going up against, Izuku. He's not going up against Endeavor. He's not going up against someone like Bakugo. He's going up against our side characters of this story. And I think many of us at this point, before we saw these chapters come out, we were all very aware of just how powerful Gigan is. He is absolutely scary. He's a nightmare to face because he was able to fight for hours upon hours, like 40 plus hours or whatever, without stopping, even taking like a very brief nap, and then got back up again and was able to do it again when he was fighting the League of Villains. We know he is a monster. He's a powerhouse. He is literally the guardian to the League of Villains. He was the right-hand man pretty much to All for One before he fell and eventually had to make plans for Shigaraki to replace him. We know for a fact that Gigan is absolutely a monster, and seeing him actually somewhat struggle against UA is surprising, but it makes sense when you look at all the circumstances that have been kind of presented in these past few chapters. One of the big ones that was presented is kind of what Mr. Compress was talking about when he was talking to Dabi and everyone else, is that Gigan, he currently has a handicap, very much so as a handicap as normal heroes do. Remember, this is a big thing that makes heroes always at a constant disadvantage. Besides them just having their quirks public knowledge and known by villains, you also have it to where they have to protect people. They can't necessarily, let's say, kill a villain. They have to actually protect people, they have to restrain themselves, they have to hold back, they gotta think about damages to their environment. They're constantly having to worry about these little details, which adds up and gains a lot of restrictions to said heroes. And in this case, Gigan is in this very rare handicap mode to where he can't actually go all in, because if he was to go all in, there's a very likely possibility that he would harm the League of Villains on his back. He would potentially kill them, crush them, whatever, knock them off, and it would really hurt them. So he is in a state of handicap mode right now. So because of that, he's not able to perform as normally he would. Like, he can't completely go all out. But because of that, it gives our side characters, like what we saw Momo was capable of doing now, of how she was able to create this vial that can knock this man out, and how, Mina and also Kirishima rushed in the latest chapter. Thanks to his handicap, they're able to kind of go in and take him down, or at least briefly stop him. Being able to at least topple him on the ground like they did is a feat that is honestly worth praising. It is absolutely insane to see, the characters of UA coming together to even be able to make the man fall briefly, to actually stall him, even for a few seconds. That is absolutely insane. But it doesn't just stop there, though. I do want to take a few moments to talk about, though, something that is incredibly important about this when it comes to our characters, and that is Momo's development to this very point. Momo as a character has actually been in the spotlight quite a bit since the very beginning. She hasn't been in the spotlight in recent times, but she has been here and there, briefly sprinkled throughout the story, and we've gotten to see her development and become what she is right now in these recent chapters. She is a gifted leader. She is a gifted hero. She has an amazing quirk that is able to do extraordinary things, and in this case, seeing what she was doing, being able to actually lead the other students, but on top of that, take initiative and create these vials to be able to knock this man out, it's actually a major feat, and it just shows how far Momo has come as a character since the very beginning. Because if you think about it, you gotta remember that test with Todoroki and Momo working together to kind of take take down Aizawa and what happened in that test, we know how Momo was as a person, how she had, this, lack of confidence within herself. She felt like she was inferior, and then seeing how she slowly worked up and, has become what she is now, it's impressive. And I just really want to take a few moments to just say, I'm so proud that Horikoshi has done such a fantastic job with Momo as a female character, because normally in a shonen, you don't have female characters that usually are just outright amazing. It's a common thing you would see in shonen, and I'm just so happy that Momo isn't one of those characters that is just thrown to the side, useless, never good, whatever, and I'm glad to see she's actually holding her own. She's doing stuff, and she's able to, face against someone that's unbelievably strong and make plans to bring something like Gigan down. That, I cannot express enough how much I enjoy that. Now, speaking of which, talking about other minor characters, we need to talk about Mineta and then Mudman as well, and how kind of they laid traps down to even allow, Gigan to topple over. Yes, Momo may have been the creative mind to come up with plans and stuff, but if it wasn't for the quirks of Mudman and Mineta, then I don't think Gigan would have fell like he did. It really goes to show you, though, how strong Mineta and Mudman are depending on the situation. Like, for instance, Mudman is able to literally sink the ground, create mud and all that, and basically make a trap. Then you have Mineta that has, the little great balls on his head that is able to stick to any surfaces, and you're, stuck to it. And we don't really know the limitations to Mineta's quirk. That has never really been explicitly dived into that deeply. We know that whatever is stuck technically can't be removed, unless, I guess, Mineta removes it himself. But we don't know if you had so much overwhelming power that you literally could break through it or not. So we never knew if Gigan, for instance, if his hands were to be stuck together by Mineta's, great balls, could he actually pull his hands apart, or would they be stuck? And kind of seeing how Mineta's actual, great balls were used on the, the ropes and stuff as traps with Mudman's quirk to kind of make him fall over is really impressive, but also shows the strength of Mineta that, once again, sometimes quirks that are relatively useless, that can't be used in certain combat scenarios, turn out to be very effective given this situation, and that's kind of where we're at now with Mineta and Mudman, is that their quirks are very useful because of the situation they're currently in. Taking down a big target, taking down someone that needs to be stalled or just slowed down before, he reaches where Shigaraki currently is. There's just so much here that happened within these chapters that show that even minor characters that aren't relatively on the same level as maybe Shigaraki, Endeavor, Izuku, Bakugo, Todoroki, etc., they can still do their own thing. They can still be very useful, and once again, I greatly appreciate that. It's the same feeling I have towards Momo being very useful, and seeing Mineta and these other lesser characters being very useful. It's something I always appreciate. I always love seeing minor characters within a story actually being able to do things, and not just sit on the sidelines and being completely worthless for the remainder of the series once a character gets a certain power-up, mainly an MC character of a story. But anyways, backing up for a second, actually let's talk take a few moments to talk about the situation with Gigan and now how he's changed his overall motive, what he's doing now to bring down the heroes. See, at first, Gigan was trying to do the quickest way to master. For instance, Shigaraki. He was trying to rush over there, get there as quick as possible. And so his objective in his mind was to ignore the gnats, ignore the heroes, run past him to get to Shigaraki. But obviously, that was not working. And he even makes a calculated move within the latest chapter where he's like, I was wrong. Trying to run as fast as I can was completely incorrect. I need to make sure these gnats can never get back up again. And so the first thing he does is grab Mount Lady and slams her into the ground, and then tries to crush Mina, which Kirishima came in for the save, which greatly appreciate that. I'll talk more about that in a second. But, you see how he changes his perspective, and instantly he shifts into battle mode. He's like, I'm ready to fight. If I cannot run away, if I cannot get past you, then I will fight. Which this makes it a little bit more scary, because now Gigan is going to show his absolute strength. Yes, he still technically has a handicap because the League of Villains are on his back, but he still now is going to demonstrate a lot more power, a lot more strength, because he's only been using his strength to be able to run. But now that he's going to be focusing his strength to just straight up fight, that's even scarier now. So it's now a question, how long can our heroes hold off until Gigan passes out? Because let's just be honest here, that's what's going to happen, is that, right now Gigan may have the, the vial within him, which he's going to start, going unconscious very soon, but it's still a timer. Time is now ticking down. Gigan is a powerhouse, and now the heroes just need to play a mission objective: survive. Like, they need to survive as long as possible until Gigan goes unconscious, and then they can either tie him up, restrain him, whatever they could potentially do, but they need to survive long enough until they're able to do something, which that brings into the next point, is that with Gigan, we know for a fact he's not able to stay unconscious for very long periods of time. Once again, going back to when he fought the League of Villains, you remember he only slept for like a few hours, and then he got back up again willing to fight like for another 40 plus hours. So we know even if he's administered like this vial and he's going to go unconscious, he might be out a little bit longer, but it's not going to be as long as, like, a full, 24 hours or a full amount of sleep. You'll probably get back up in, a few hours, which is just insane to think about. So, even what they're doing, they're only stalling him briefly, and that's it. They're just stalling him briefly, and he will get back up again. And once again, how resistant is he to this, this sleeping agent that technically he was given? How long can he keep moving until he passes out? Is it 30 minutes? Is it an hour? Is it a full day? Because we know he's able to keep himself awake for such a long period of time and keep fighting. So honestly, when it comes to him passing out, it's very likely it might be a lot longer than normal for him to pass out. It could be a full day until he passes out. And if it really is a full day, they're not going to be able to make it. He will get over to Shigaraki before he passes out. So it's all up in the air now of kind of what kind of quirks he has and what he truly is capable of. His 100% power, what is Gigan really capable of? Now, okay, let's talk about Mount Lady for a second, because I think she is a relatively important character that has definitely demonstrated herself to be very useful, and definitely someone that I think you're going to be, enjoying as a character, like calling a fan favorite character after what has happened in these latest chapters. Mount Lady was able to straight up stand against Gigan and try to hold him back. She briefly was able to hold him, and then all of a sudden he charged past her, and then she started holding on to him and was technically slowing him down while she was holding on to him, thanks to calmly helping her out, but he was unconscious and just now recently was able to wake back up. But the point still stands, though, is that when you look at how Mount Lady has been holding on, how she's been able to fight for as long as she is against someone like Gigan, it shows that she wasn't just a character to be just introduced in the first chapter and be a throwaway, once again showing that there is usefulness to her character, and that she is definitely incredibly powerful. She deserves her rank, she deserves to be where she's at, and she has definitely demonstrated her skill. I appreciate it. I'm so glad to see that Mount Lady was just able to hold her own for as long as she did. Obviously, after what Gigan did in the latest chapter, she's done. Like, I don't think she's gonna probably get back up. If she gets back up, I will definitely be surprised, but she has done enough as is. She has literally held on to this man as he's dragged her through the woods. She's getting like trees and branches just slammed into her face. She's getting probably kicked by just the, his legs and all that as he's moving. It just, when you think about it, Mount Lady has done so much already that her being knocked out, she's done enough. I think at this time we can give her a break. It's really now up to the other remaining heroes standing to bring this man down, or at least stall him for the time being until he may pass out. So yeah, that is incredible. I'm just glad to see that Mount Lady isn't actually weak. I'm glad to see she demonstrated herself, and she is always being very useful in clutch moments. I mean, she was technically very useful in clutch in the moment of saving Bakugo when All Might was fighting All for One. If you remember, she came in and helped the kids out with escaping from All for One in the League of Villains. So she's just always been a very useful character coming in clutch, and she came in clutch once again by doing what she could to be able to open the mouth of Gigan to allow the vial to be used against him. Amazing. But okay, so let's now actually get into some of the other stuff, and that is Mina and Kirishima, because this is a very, very important moment of these latest chapters, because technically Mina and Kirishima, they've already met Gigan in the past, and it kind of goes back to their origin of why they want to be a hero and why they're here right now. Kirishima's hairstyle change, just everything about these two characters is kind of I guess twisted together with Gigan. So Mina kind of messed up in this chapter. I think many looking at the color page of the latest chapter of My Hero Academia were probably under the impression that Mina was going to have a really big moment, a time to shine, a time to show that she's overcome her fear of Gigan, and that she's truly moving up as a hero and a better person, etc. But you see her freeze up. She freezes up, she gets scared, and she messes up her throw with the vial in hand to kind of sedate Gigan. It slips out of her hand, and she's about to get crushed. And you see a brief panel where she envisions herself as kind of like with a school uniform, like she's back at that day to when she first faced Gigan, and she was terrified. She felt like she was there, stuck in time, basically. And it's a big moment, honestly, for Mina's character. It kind of represents that she is traumatized by Gigan, and she is still not able to move forward, and just hearing this man's voice and seeing him face to face absolutely frightens her. And I know many might be a little bit upset with Mina, especially after what we saw within this chapter, but honestly I think this is actually a good thing, because this gives room for Mina to grow as a character, to allow us to see her flourish into something much better, because even though she has been shown to be strong and she gave Kirishima the courage to be where he's at right now, she still has other things she needs to work on as well, and it's clear that she still has to overcome her own personal fear, and maybe she can gain courage from Kirishima, might gain some of his courage because of her watching what he does. I just feel like maybe how Kirishima gained his courage from her, she's going to do the exact same thing. But I do think that Mina's entire moment is very impactful, powerful. She did have courage to rush in, but I do think that this is definitely set up for her to develop as the story progresses. Powerful, very powerful latest chapter for the characters, great development and all that, a nice ribbon on top, honestly, between Mina and Kirishima's character. Love it. So, next to get into, though, let's talk about the moments at the end of the latest chapter, which is actually seeing Shigaraki kind of having a little bit of dialogue with Endeavor, because Endeavor's like, give up, your useless ideals or your shallow ideals won't do anything, you're not going to be able to accomplish what you want, and you have Shigaraki kind of comment back, he's like, you heroes are always hurting your family, your loved ones, to be able to save those you don't even know. My father told me this. I have my ideals. I always have. And it is very true. We know Shigaraki's past. We know what he's lost. We know what he's gained. So because of all of this, what he says does matter. He is very correct. And those words he says does hold a lot of weight towards Endeavor as well. Because technically, when you think about it, Endeavor's done a lot of harm to the loved ones in his family, to just be able to be a hero, to save those that he has no idea who they are, and I think those words are really going to ring true. Like, Shigaraki saying that is probably the one line, a couple of words that really will affect Endeavor emotionally, because he's like, holy crap, he's kind of right. Like, heroes do this. He is exposing the cracks in our society of how far we'll go to protect those we do not know, but will harm those that we do love. I mean, even Izuku is kind of responsible for this as well. I mean, look, he made his mother very upset. He made his mother cry because of how much harm he was doing to his body. So we know for a fact that this, entire line that Shigaraki is saying holds very true. It's not just something to attach to Endeavor. It attaches itself to a lot of heroes in society, not just Endeavor. And because of that, what Shigaraki is saying is very true, and is probably something that is going to play a lot of weight to maybe Endeavor, everyone that is there, honestly, and probably going forward, maybe Shigaraki's comeback, because let's be honest, he's not going to be captured here. He is the final villain, and this is not the time and place for Shigaraki to fall, because he just now got kind of reborn as All For One, so he is going to get back up and continue fighting. But the question is Gigan really going to arrive or not, because of the whole, sleep, vial that he actually now has in his system. I do say, though, I feel very scared for Midnight. We didn't get to see what technically happened to Midnight, but it's possible that she could be dead, which, if so, that's sad. I'm really sad, especially that little, flashback she had with Momo. It makes me assume she's dead, because there has definitely been a lot of character deaths within these latest chapters, and this arc is kind of trying to shove the fact that, the next generation is what's going to have to carry on the legacy of the old heroes, because the old heroes no longer can really do anything. I feel like Midnight might be dead, but because we didn't see a body, and this is a shonen at the end of the day, we can't necessarily say that she's dead until we actually see it, but it is definitely scary. She's in a scary situation because she definitely has no backup, she can't receive any backup, and more villains are coming. So yeah, but I love you guys. You have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. If you enjoy my content, please subscribe. If you like this video, please leave a like, and if you want to get notified for whenever I upload a video, please click the bell icon down below, and with that, Chibi out.